In order to attract foreign investors, the government is already looking at the following areas to improve aviation business in Nigeria. Upgrading our infrastructure. For emphasis or elaboration, this includes upgrading the CAT-3 landing system at major airports, construction of the second runway in Abuja, which is about to commence right now, airport improvement programs through concession, and government willingness to partner with companies to turn major airports into aerotropolis. So we are looking at the aircraft leasing company. It's part of the roadmap. Government welcomes major players in aircraft leasing and head resorts to invest in Nigeria airlines to provide state-of-the-art aircraft. With the shortage of qualified engineers, the current administration is willing to provide all the necessary support for the establishment of world-class MROs and training organizations. We also look at the area of Forex availability. The current administration is aware that one of the setbacks entrepreneurs have suffered in Nigeria in recent years is the fluctuation of foreign exchange and its availability. And then we do apologize, it has affected most of the airlines that we have bases with in Nigeria. It's one of the issues we actually went to sort out in the UAE. But this administration is committed to ensuring that Forex is readily available to entrepreneurs, and I have directed, that's the president, I'm reading the president's speech, I've directed the Central Bank of Nigeria host quarterly reconciliation meetings with a view to resolve this issue.
Well, our previous conversation ties perfectly into the one we're about to have now, because the aviation sector operates within the confines of the economy. And you heard the minister there talking about Forex, which is a big deal, really, particularly for the aviation sector. It's been an ongoing battle. But we'll take a look at that as well as other issues that concern that major sector this morning. As you can see, we're joined by Captain Adosanusi, MD CEO, Aero Contractors, former MD CEO, Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, joins us virtually from Mombasa this morning. It's good to have you on the program, Captain.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And right next to him, Mr. Bankole Bernard is an aviation expert, President, Association of Aviation Training Organization Nigeria, immediate past president of NANDA, and GMD Finch Glow Holdings. Also great to have you, Mr. Bernard.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. So, as of the last count, over 2,000 licensed pilots in Nigeria with over 30 airports. And, the figures are there for us. And I imagine that it's even increased because of the last count for the NCAA. That was a 2019 figures, but it's, of course, since increased. But looking at 2023 for you, the aviation sector, yes, faced a lot of challenges, but how would you describe it as an insider? It's different from what people see on the outside. And I'll begin from Captain Adosanusi. What was the aviation sector like for you in 2023?
Well, again, thank you very much for having me, and compliments of the season. Looking at the year under review, what comes to mind as a professional and over 3 decades operating in the industry? I would see that the ineffectiveness of the regulator, which caused a lot of challenges during the year under review, 2023. We achieved a lot over the years, and we believe we should be building on top of what we have achieved. But unfortunately, due to the ineffectiveness and reactive nature of our regulators, we became proactive. And the year under review shows that with series of incidences in our airports, with regulation being flagrantly just looked over, because they feel that the operators feel that the regulator is not that effective. And the implementation of the 2023 NCAS also creates a problem, because I don't think they have thought through the whole process of implementing that regulation, which says that airlines must have 6 airplanes before they start operation. Meanwhile, the infrastructure to support that regulation is not put in place. So those are the things that I think affected majorly the aviation industry, looking from the operator eye view. But in a bigger picture, the aviation industry, of course, has been affected by the economy of the country. As you mentioned, the dollar, the imports of the Jet A1, also so many things affected the aviation industry negatively. We can see that some airlines went under, as one, for instance, caused to cease operation. And many more will go because of the hardship and the scarcity of foreign exchange, and also the taxation that has not been addressed. So the aviation industry continues to struggle in the year under review. And if nothing has been done to address these challenges, it will continue to struggle in the year 2024. And more airlines will go under, while some will come up. And the same cycle, the same vicious cycle will continue, and we will not have a vibrant aviation industry, because we are still thinking of doing the same thing and expecting different results. So going back to 2023, yes, we saw a decline in effective safety oversight, which resulted into a couple of incidences, and which resulted into flight delays, flight cancellations, and even season of operation of some operators. The infrastructure, still, one of our runways is still closed in Lagos, which is the main airport in Nigeria, is still closed, not open. We experience for the first time in the world that they are stealing approach lights in the in the airports. I mean,
Captain,
these are the challenges the aviation industry faced in 2023.
And
I believe and I hope. Yes.
You can land on that point.
Sorry.
You believe and you hope?
I believe and I hope that the new administration coming in will make a difference. But if they go through the same problems or the same promises that we've been hearing, then probably we'll just have an industry that is on the way to collapsing.
Oh dear. I mean, we have to properly segmentize this, because what matters to the flyers, the users, things like price, which we'll talk about now. Hundreds of thousands of naira is what will get you to and fro these days, and what used to cost less than 50,000 naira. I mean, years back, that is. There's a quality of service, there's issues of flight delays and the rest. That's what matters to the users. But you touched on something really important, and that's the role of the regulator, which doesn't just matter to you as an operator, but also spills over to the users, because one can only imagine how mismanagement of the aviation sector, what it will cost. We all know what that means. And I'll take this to Mr. Bernard, because you've raised that very important point, and I'd like to get his thoughts, particularly on the issue of the regulator. The aviation sector is expected to be one of the most regulated. It's an irony if the regulator is not as effective, as proactive as it ought to be. Mr. Bernard, your thoughts first on the regulation part of the aviation sector and the regulator. What was the issue really? That's for you, Mr. Bernard, if you can hear me. Please unmute your device so we can hear you. Okay, we'll come back to Mr. Bernard just to tidy that up. But, Captain, I'd like you to expound on that one, because as I said, regulation is key, and you of all people appreciate that more even than all of us that fly. So what were the areas where the regulator dropped the ball? And you talked about this administration hoping to do better so that perhaps the minister is listening, other people in government are listening, such that they can know those areas to show up the regulator such that they're more effective and proactive.
Well, there are a couple of things. I mean, it's so many things that we have seen over the year, especially past 1 year. We have seen the regulator giving a kind of waivers that have never been given before in the aviation industry. We have seen the regulator giving a license to airlines that have not met the requirements to meet the requirements for AOC, operator's certificate. We have seen the regulator keeping quiet when Air Nigeria was declared that it is ready to fly. We saw the regulator not coming out to say, no, it must follow that. So we've seen the regulator keeping quiet and being complacent when things have been done. And the regulator is not supposed to be politically correct. He's supposed to say the truth. He's supposed to regulate, as the case may be. So there are so many things that we have seen in the industry, whether the regulator kept quiet or whether the regulator gave a waiver, whether the regulator did something that makes we, the operators, feel, oh, so you can get away with that. And that's the reason why I said the regulator was not being proactive. Rather, he was being reactive. Today, you ground an airline A, and tomorrow you say, no, he can fly. Well, in the first instance, why did you ground him without going through a proper investigation in the first instance, for example? And we see reversal of grounding of airplanes, of grounding of airlines. And that sends some kind of unsure signals and political interference in the regulatory agencies. So that is why I said there is no the regulator was not showing a more proactive stand, rather a reactive stand. When an incident happens, that's when they come in and ground or wave the big cane on the airlines or on the operator.
Well, speaking of this perceived inconsistency of the regulator, I wonder if, Mr. Bernard, you've been able to unmute now so that you can talk to us. Is this perhaps what's responsible for the mass sack of directors in the agencies in the aviation sector, which, by the way, some have described as, ill-advised and will put the sector at risk? Mr. Bankole Bernard, this is for you now. I'd like you to address this.
Okay, thank you very much. As you're all aware that the appointments are politically motivated, and definitely when you have a new administration, you see a sort of cleansing within the system. But we must understand that this is a very sensitive industry. It's not like every other industry that you apply search and you expect to get a fantastic result. Now we have new political appointees, and they're all there. They'll settle down. They will give their best. But again, how are we going to continue with the existing policies that it will support the growth of the industry? Personally, I have no problem with the individuals that have been appointed. But the question we should ask ourselves is this: are the policies being formulated by the government, are they in line that supports business growth? Are they in line that projects the industry for the future? I don't think so. And that's why you see us take a step backward and two steps a step forward and two steps backward. Let me say this to you so that for benefit of hindsight. Now, in 2022, we had a $75.5 billion as the budget for the aviation industry. In 2023, it was increased to 77.3 billion. In 2024, 63.3 is being projected. 63.3 is being projected. So there's a reduction in the budget. So you ask yourself, how do you expect a growth in this particular industry? An industry that has been badly affected by the devaluation of our currency. Because this is one industry that is highly dollarized. Everything is done with FX. Training of pilots, acquisition of aircraft spare parts, so many things. Even the aviation fuel. So what are we talking about? Are we serious as a government that wants to really move this industry forward? Check our airports. They are dilapidated. You can't find us in the top 100 airports in the world. Even in Africa, we're not in the top. None of our airports qualify to be in the top 10. It says a lot about us as a nation. We should stop paying lip service to what we intend to do and start to act. Until we get serious as a nation, we're not going to move forward. And this industry will continue to decay.
Mr.
We
Bernard,
have to get it right.
Mr. Bernard, your concerns are rightly noted, and you know, government officials will say that all the other sectors to have inadequate funding allocated to them, and besides, there are infrastructure renovation going on in a number of airports across the country, but you have not particularly addressed the question. All you have said was that, you know, the reappointments and the mass sack are politically motivated. I'd like you to speak to whether or not they are as a result of the botched Air Nigeria project and what impact it would have on the sector. Some have said that, you know, it will put the sector at risk because the erstwhile directors have been there for a long time and they have institutional memory that the new officials need to work with. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, like I said, and I'll repeat it again, the directors that were appointed, it's a political appointment. It's quite different from the civil service workers that are ensuring the day-to-day running of these different MBAs and agencies. All the new director needs to do with better commitment is to ensure that all the pending issues within the agency are properly addressed. I honestly feel that in an industry like ours that is very sensitive, when you do this kind of house cleansing, what you've done is you've thrown away a lot of knowledge, personnel that would have added value to the system. But I mean, this is government. They decide who they want to put there. They employ them, they sack them at will. So there's absolutely nothing we can do. But what we're saying is, let there be a sort of continuity in the approach. Mass sacking, what was the reason? Was it because of Air Nigeria or because they're not doing so well? There's no particular reason. And we're talking about a political government, which is the previous administration and this administration. I was expecting to see a sort of continuity. But cleaning the entire house and say we have to bring new people on board means that it's going to slow down the growth and the progress of the industry. So we need to have a rethink before such actions are taken. Was there something wrong? I think they probably deserve some sort of explanation. By the way, these were the same groups of directors that had a retreat with the existing minister. So everything that had been discussed at the retreat and the plans they've made we throw it away. So I wonder what the new appointees are coming. Are they going to have another retreat? Which brings me to another part of this discussion. When are we going to be accountable as a nation? When we start to hold ourselves accountable? We have to stop this wasteful spending. Because the directors that had the receipts are all gone. Now we have new directors. What insight are they going to have about the receipt that was held? It's going to be difficult for us as a nation to move forward. I don't see
that insight. Yes, thank you for that insight, Mr. Bernard. Speaking of accountability, let me bring this to you now, Mr. Captain Sanusi, and we're now turning our attention to the matter of Forex. The Minister of Aviation addressed this in the soundbite that we heard earlier when he when he apologized for the trap funds and said the CBN will be holding meetings subsequently over that. Is this progress on the worry about trapped funds of foreign airlines? And does it address fears that if not addressed, foreign airlines begin to exit the country?
Yeah, I think so. But let me touch on your last question and what my friend Bankole was trying to explain a bit. I am of the opinion that I think the minister found himself to choose between the devil and the blue sea. Is either to continue working with the directors that the agents, the yearning of the stakeholders was that these are not moving towards the policy, and they have derailed from the roadmap that was already being followed. So, and also some of them have conflict of interest. So he has to make changes. If he didn't make those changes, the stakeholders in the aviation industry will cry that, look, this is what we're saying. So I think he made a choice of making the changes. Look, there is nothing wrong with changes. I mean, it is very good to make changes. That is what life is about, change. So I think the fact that there was a cleansing of the directors and other officials, executive officials of the aviation sector, I think we should give them a chance and see what they can do, and try and work with them and make them understand the more important part of the role they're supposed to play in the aviation sector. Now, talking about the trapped funds for the foreign airlines, it is extremely important that it gets attention from the highest level. What the minister said is welcome development. It will give the airlines, the foreign airlines, some I think some rest of mind that somebody is attending to it. But believe me, it's getting to close to $1 billion. Over the last I saw was about $700 million. These are monies that Nigerians paid to buy tickets in Naira, and they're supposed to repatriate this money in dollars. And this has not been done. I believe that we should take it serious as a country. I believe it should be addressed immediately, and a program or a plan should be made to liquidate all that, and then make sure that we don't trap funds of foreign airlines. I'm a total believer that the airlines should be given their money as quickly as possible. Now, if we don't do that, what are the consequences? The consequences will be some of the airlines will start withdrawing their services into Nigeria. What I mean, some people say they want. Of course, the tickets fares will rise. Those that have to travel outside the country will have to pay more. And Nigeria cannot operate in isolation. We have to travel out of the country. We have to come into the country, and the tickets must be affordable. Now, if the tickets are not affordable, the investors coming in will pay more. And when they come to invest, they will also have to factor that into their investment. And some will not even come. The investors will not come. The investors don't come by sea. They don't come by road. They come by air. So if it is very difficult to come into your country, that is one of the key factors. They will think that, well, Nigeria is a difficult country to invest. So I believe it's a total ecosystem that it must be looked from the highest level of the government.
Indeed, Captain
and
Sanusi.
addressed quickly. Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what your recommendations would be, for a program that would be set up to address the whopping more than $700 billion of trapped air funds, airline funds. But I'm sure that my colleague Nyota has questions for you in that regard. Nyota.
Thank you very much, Bukola. Captain Sanusi, you said something earlier that, let me take it up from there. You said the regulator isn't supposed to be politically correct. We do know that by the new act, the 2022 Act of the Aviation Industry, the NTA who is the regulator here, is autonomous. And he clearly stated that he's autonomous. But in playing with the stakeholders and working with the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, including you, the NTA has had its own issues as regards how the stakeholders even relate with the regulator as regards carrying out its responsibilities. Would you say that the stakeholders have been doing their own part?
Well, if everybody has played its part, but as I said in the beginning, that the regulator is not supposed to be politically correct, and of course we, the operators too, have played our own role in making the regulator to be politically correct, because we sometimes keep quiet when we know that the regulator should voice out the opinion or clarify an action the regulator has taken. As far as it doesn't affect the particular operator, he keeps quiet because he feels that, well, it's not his problem, but it's the problem of the entire system. If a regulator, if you see something that is wrong, even though it doesn't affect you and you do not mention it, of course you are accomplice to that something that has been wrong. And so we, including myself, are guilty of allowing the regulator to act politically correct in 2023. Because I said it in this interview several times that there's no way Air Nigeria will fly with the certain things that we have seen in place before the May 29 deadline. But the regulator didn't come out to say that, no, it's not possible because he has not done the demonstration flight, he has not done this, he has not done that. Everybody kept quiet. And when an AOC was given to another airline, everybody kept quiet. The guy did not do demo flights. Everybody kept quiet. So those are the things that accumulate, and then they manifest into incidents, because they manifest into incident and, God forbid, into accident. But with this recent changes, I believe we will galvanize ourselves and make sure that we don't go down the drain of collapse. Because if we don't, this is the only industry we have.
Let's look at those recent changes, for instance. I mean, your colleague and friend, Mr. Bernard, talked about the fact that the new changes, the new appointments that have taken place will kind of like slow down the advance that the aviation industry should have been making. Because one of the challenges that industry has had is bad management, a lack of a coherent transport policy in that sector, decrepit infrastructure. Again, your colleague, Mr. Bankole Bernard, mentioned some of these things. And Mr. Bernard, will come to you to make your own contributions on it. But Captain Sanusi, if you say the recent changes would help make that difference, there are those who will be wondering, to what effect? So how long would the air travelers in Nigeria have to wait to see the effect? Because right now, the cost of transport, of traveling by air, is out there. And of course, it's one of the fastest and safest, as they say. But this challenge is still there. So how do we get to this point where the air travelers in Nigeria can begin to breathe?
Well, it is the safest and the fastest travel. Not as they say, it is actually the safest and the fastest way of traveling. I don't think Nigerians will see any change, even if we change all the workers of the aviation industry, the parastatals. They will not see any change in the ticket fares, because ticket fares has nothing to do with the workers, the directors, the GMs, the chief executive officers. What we are going to see recently maybe is a more efficient parastatal working to achieve the goals the minister set out to the new appointees. But for ticket fares, I believe the only way the ticket fares will come down is if the cost of operation is reduced drastically. And how do you reduce? There are fixed costs and there are variable costs. So you have to tinker with the variable costs. The fixed costs, you can do very little about that. So the variable cost, the cost of Jet A1, the personnel cost, the cost of repairs, maintenance, all that, you need to tinker with them. And of course, it all boils down to the cost of foreign exchange. To naira. That's the dollar to the naira. Going to come down now. Bear in mind that some of the airlines have taken the advantage of the high demand in travel during this Yuletide season, during this festive season. They have taken that advantage to increase their fares. They will reduce their fares because people cannot afford to continue to pay those huge amount of money to travel, and the demand will be very low. So you will see a slight decrease in 2024, January, February, March, because those are the months that airlines struggle. So you will see a bit of reduction. And if the dollar to naira exchange rate stabilize, you will see a stable rate throughout the year of tickets. Probably if there's a new entrant into the market, you might see a slight delay, a decrease in ticket fares.
Okay, Captain Sanusi, I'll just have to come in here and take it to Mr. Bernard because we're almost out of time. One of the things that has been a challenge to the aviation industry is the multiple taxations. Yes, you talked about efficiency. We'll see a bit more of efficiency in all of this. But Mr. Bernard, in all of this, new management, a hope that there will be a reduction in costs for the air travelers and a reduction in costs for the operators. Do you see that happening quickly in 2024?
I don't see a reduction in cost. It's not going to happen except the government starts to take some drastic steps to really address what the real issues are. Like I said, what we've seen from the government is a lip service and not actually getting to the root of the issue. Now we're talking about the aspect. We're good at trading blames amongst ourselves, especially within the government. Oh, the funds are trapped with CBN. Has anybody gone as far as finding out how much of this, even foreign airline funds, are trapped with CBN? How much of the money is sitting with the commercial banks? The commercial banks are taking advantage of the system. They could see that, yes, this particular industry, their needs of effort. So what do? Is the highest bidder that they will go with. So that constantly makes because the demand of FX is high, it constantly makes them offer more naira to get their funds that are trapped out. Now, the airline will continue to edge against the rate that is being populated on a daily basis. If I sell a ticket today at an exchange rate of 950 naira to $1, and in 30 days that I need to remit the money out of the country, the dollar is already doing at 1.20. As an airline, I've lost out. So the government needs to really look into the issue of of these trust funds. The so-called trust funds, where is it? Is it with the CBN or is it with the commercial bank? I think by the time the government investigates, they will get to the root of the matter. But the government has shown little or no concerns about this. That's number one. Now, the aviation fraud that we're talking about, what is the government doing about it?
All right, Mr. Bernard, quite a number of very germane issues you have raised about Forex and now aviation fuel. But we have to wind down now because of time. But just before we go, Captain, the minister says that airlines will begin to pay compensation for flight disruptions, cancellations, and delays. Are you ready for that? January, a matter of 3 days.
Pay compensation.
That's for Captain. Yes, Captain Sanusi.
Yes, so we do already pay compensations and delays for flight cancellations or delays. What I just want us to understand is we are not inventing the wheel. I mean, it is everywhere in the world. So let us not put a kind of honey into the mouth of passengers. That, oh, when there is a delay, you are going to pay. If the delay is caused by the parastatals, fine, for instance, or is caused by NCA inspectors inspecting the airplane, who pays for that delay? So we must put an infrastructure in place that will definitely know that it's the airline that is responsible for this delay. Then we can now say this is the procedure to compensate for that delay. But it will be chaotic, believe me. If I have a flight that's supposed to leave, and because of congestion at the tarmac or congestion at the check-in counter, and I could not depart for 1 hour, 2 hours, because of the infrastructure of FAN,
All right.
who pays for the delay? Or if I have an airplane that was supposed to be released by Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, and the inspectors are still doing their job, and the delay comes out to be 3-4 hours more than what I expect the inspectors to finish their work, who pays for that delay? Or if I'm supposed to get a weather report from an airport A or airport B, and NIMET did not give me that weather because the person did not come to work in time, and I was delayed for 3-4 hours because I have to wait for the weather to come back to come
Captain,
to me before I depart.
We have to run now. But essentially you're saying it's not just the airlines that should bear liability, even the government agencies responsible should also... You say they should pay compensation.
Absolutely.
Well, we have to go. We have to go right now. We have to thank you so much, Captain Addison, the CEO, Aero Contractors, as well as Mr. Bankole Bernard, aviation expert, president of Association of Aviation Training Organization Nigeria. Gentlemen, thank you for your time and compliments of the season once again.
Thank you for having me. Compliments of the season too.